Hey everyone, today is May 2nd. Welcome to Konveyor Community Meeting. We abide by Konveyor Code of Conduct, which boils down to please be nice to one another. This meeting will be recorded and available on YouTube. And if you're interested in reading more about the community stuff, it's linked up in the agenda. I'm going to copy paste the agenda one more time in the chat. Please feel free to add yourself. I'm going to pause here for a minute. And I just want to give some time to people who are new. If you want to say hi, this is your time. I'm Savita Raghunathan. I'm the host, and I'm also a conveyor maintainer. I'm audible, right? I'm not talking too fast also.
Yes, audible.
Okay, thank you. All right, cool. So I'm just going to move on to first topic that we have. We have a couple of demos and update and announcements, highlight, and also some open discussion items. I think it'll be packed today. The first one is from Emily. It's going to be a demo on multi-provider analysis with Cantra. So Emily, whenever you're ready, I will stop sharing my screen. Cool.
Okay, is that visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So for a little background for anyone that is not very familiar with Cantora, when we first built it, it only supported the Java provider for the analyzer. And for this past release, we wanted a way to be able to run other providers that are external to the analyzer, excuse me. So ones that aren't baked into it. So we had to do a little bit of revision in it, and this demo is going to be pretty short because as of now we have a few more external providers that it can support. So I'm going to show the Golang dependency provider and the Python provider that are supported in the analyzer, but supported as external providers. And we are still currently working on being able to run custom providers and override providers. So that is the next step in this. But for now, I can show everyone that we can run other providers than besides just the Java provider in Cantra. So I'm just going to show a few rules for running the Golang provider and the Python provider. These rules are just simple rules that we use in the analyzer to test these providers, and I'm going to be using the example applications that are also found there if anyone is familiar with those to run these rules against, excuse me. So here are the rules that I'll be using for each provider. And to start with, excuse me, I'll be running the Golang dependency provider. Sorry, it takes a little bit of time. All right, so the analysis finished, so we can then look at our output and we can see that we have matched with several rules, or the rules that I showed earlier for. Excuse me, by the way, for the coughing. I woke up quite congested today. And now we're going to run the Python example against the Python rules. And then there again, we can see that we have matched with the rules that we showed earlier. that is for now pretty much it. Like I said earlier, we are still working on support for adding in custom providers and overriding these providers. So does anyone have any excuse me, questions?
That's cool. One question I had was, is the Python support in the generic provider?
Yes, it is.
Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. That was a cool demo. And so if you have a link to the examples, feel free to share. I'll just put it down the agenda. Feel free to put in the agenda or in the chat. I can just copy it over.
Yep, sure thing.
And folks, if you have any question on the analyzer work, the analyzer group also meets on every Thursday. That alternates the community call at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and they are also very active on the Kubernetes Konveyor channel, Kubernetes Workspace Konveyor channel, and Konveyor Dev channel. So feel free to fire away your questions. The next topic on the agenda is from Jeff. It's going to be a demo on or an update on a multi-provider analysis with Tackle.
All right, thank you. Actually, following Emily is going to be easy because basically everything she said applies to what I'm going to show you, and I don't have to say it all over again. So let me I'm going to do effectively the same demo. I'm only going to do Python and Go because I didn't have a Java and Go because I didn't have a Python example. So. Okay, so what we have here is got two applications. I've got our usual day trader and I've got a Go application. And if we look at the tags in here, okay, spoiler alert, I did run this beforehand, so that's why there's tags. But if we look at the language tags, or an easy way to just do that. Let's see. All right, well, let's see. It might just be easier to do this. Okay. Oh, that's why. So for Java, I didn't put a tag in by default. It runs Java. That's why that's there. So, but if we look at these tags, you'll see that I explicitly put the Golang tag in there. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do a bulk analysis and run this as source. And I'm going to pick a containerization, and I'm going to pick for Go a custom rule, a custom target that I created, and we're going to let this go. So what you will see here is that for our, come on. Should be able to look at this anyway. So you'll see here that we're running the analyzer add-on, but we've dynamically picked what's called an extension, and I'll show you what that is later. But basically, we've picked the Java provider here. In the case of our Go application, you'll see that we're running the add-on, the analyzer add-on, but we've picked the generic provider. And so if we look at our issues, you'll see that, and this, I'll be honest, is from a previous run, but it all works out the same way. If we pick for a single application for day trader, we've got all of our usual issues against the Java application. And if I pick our Go, then this is for our test rule set for Go. And we'll see that, that we've generated these issues. So the way this works, and that's probably one of the more interesting parts, I suppose, is that what we've defined here is in the CRs that that you're used to for defining add-ons, there's a new CR called an extension. And the concept here is that add-ons can have extensions, and extensions effectively get used to run the analysis pod with additional containers. And so the first one here is our Java extension. And the Java extension, each extension has something called a selector. And I totally ripped this off from the analyzer guys with the language selectors or with the rule selectors. And so this extension will be picked when either the language tag is Java or there's no language tag set at all. And the convention here, or the way this works, is that that rules as well as which providers get run hinge on or are determined by which language tag or tags or any tags that are on the application. There's one type of selector right now that's supported, which is a tag selector. And then going forward, I think if we add other things, like for example, we've talked about platform support, is that there would be like a platform selector that would allow us to select it. So anyway, so moving forward on this is that, so you'll see that as part of this change also, rather than just having a, well, let me skip that. So when you're defining an extension, you can define the full container. You'll see here that we want to do dynamic port selection. And so the way that you do dynamic port selection is the task manager supports macros, and one of the macros here is a sequence macro. And so what we do is we define that we want to create an environment variable named port using this sequence. And that way, if you were to have multiple containers, it would basically give them 8,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And then it injects that into the container spec where with this port environment variable. And this uses the same syntax as what Kubernetes does with environment variable replacement. And so moving down here, you'll see that there's a metadata section. So extensions have metadata. And here's where we define a couple of things. One is we define the provider init config. And so this is where the init config begins. And you'll see here again where we've injected the port we want the provider to listen to. And so, and then with these the provider specific stuff in the init config, we have these static things like bundles and so forth that I think long-term will not need to be injected or specified here. But one of the things we're also injecting here is the Maven settings file. And so what you have is the Maven settings path. So again, this is another parameter that gets injected that basically, which does a variable substitution. And so moving back up to here, you'll have basically you can declare resources from the hub that this provider or this container wants or this extension needs. And so we've said that so one type of selector is identity selector. And so this is what we call commonly credentials. They are actually identity resources. And so the identity of kind Maven gets selected, and it gets selected for the application the task is running for. And we say, okay, we want to grab the settings field. We optionally can take the value of this and we can do a number of things with it. We can write it to this path if the path is specified. And in both cases, we can specify a key. And in this case, because we specified a path, the key value gets set to the path where the file got written. If in the case where you didn't specify the path, then the value of settings would be put into the value of the key. So down in our spec here, all we have to do is say that we've set this custom setting, this custom config setting equal to the value of this key. So by doing this, we can inject resources that are in the hub into the provider's setting file or the init config. I'll pause there and then I'll move down to the next extension, see if there's any questions. Okay. Jump in if you have one. Anyway, so the Go one is actually just the same way, only it's a lot simpler because at least I don't know of any anything that needs to get injected into the the provider setting other than the port. And so also Emily or somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. I just totally guessed at how much I assume that Go one doesn't need anywhere near the resources as Python, but I'm probably wrong about that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. I was just going to say you're probably right, but I am not 100% sure.
Anyway, this is just kind of demo stuff. Anyway, I imagine it needs to be bigger than this, but I just wasn't sure. I'm also analyzing an application with one Go file. So, anyway, so the other thing to kind of point out too is that extensions are specifically declare which add-on they're compatible with, and so I think the vast majority of add-ons won't have extensions, but in the case where, like in the case of ours, we need to be able to specify it. So it's a pretty lightweight, simple way of doing a simple extension to the containers that run in the add-on. And so, so that's that. So any questions about any of it?
Is what you've just described with like the macros and stuff, is that written down somewhere?
A lot of the stuff still has to get, most of this all has to still get documented.
Okay.
So the short answer is no.
Okay. Thank you.
Same with the selectors. I mean, they're documented they're documented in the issue that I wrote up that the enhancement points to, but I haven't done the formal documentation.
Thank you.
I assume I wasn't sure which you were asking about, but the entire design and everything that I just showed you is all documented in the issue and the enhancement, like I guess and the enhancement by way of the issue.
Thank you, Jeff. I was trying to find the announcements to put it in the agenda. I will do it probably after the meeting or like in a bit. Does anyone have any questions?
I did stick that in under the enhancement highlights. That is the one that I linked. Just I think that was the only one I saw that's open. That's looking for feedback for 05. So that should be down there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And I always learn something when Jeff is demoing. There was this time that I was talking to him, and then I learned that you could see the analysis details from the UI than trying to log in the container or like seeing from the log. So thank you. I just had to like say that. I remembered about that. So I have to say that out. So thank you, Jeff. And if anyone, again, have any questions, feel free to reach out. In the issue that we have in the agenda about the enhancement or any general question, you can also reach out in the Slack channel. Hey, next up is an update. I'm just going to read it out, and David, please feel free to add if I have missed anything. It says that Cantra Windows Container is going to be an enhancement for 0.5. Is there anything that you want to add, David?
No, that's really it. Is that it's not as simple. It's going to require more changes than we have time for in the 04 timeframe. So the plan is to work on an enhancement for making a Windows container for Contra and have that in the 05 timeline. Perfect.
Thanks so much. And next up is the enhancement highlight, which we briefly talked about. Is there anything else that you want to add, Dylan?
It'll get into, I guess, my 3 spamming topics on the bottom, just about the 05 plans. and kind of when we're looking for feedback, or if you have an enhancement you're looking to include in 05 when it needs to be accepted by. So I link that because that's the only one I see open. We still have a few issues that I know we're targeting for 05, but we need to, we're going to enforce an enhancement freeze date. So we need the enhancement submitted and approved by that date is basically the plan. So I guess nothing else to highlight there, but I can just move into my topics if you want, if that's okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so first thing I did, which if we feel strongly that this is a mistake, I'm happy to discuss this, but I kind of feel like we made a big mistake. And this is probably my fault because when I came up with this plan, I wasn't really thinking too intelligently about this. We didn't really leave room for us cutting like an alpha release and then having to fix something. So we had code freeze, and then we had 2 weeks between code freeze and the release date with no actual plan for defining like how we're going to test a release, find out that it's broken, and having to make modify changes. So today was technically the code freeze for 04. There's 2 open issues on the planning board that I'm not sure if they're out of date or if they're still open. I'm trying to share my window. I'm sorry, give me a second here. Which tab is this? I guess we'll go here. So what I decided to do, and I have a PR open as long as everyone thinks this makes sense. I changed today to be the alpha. So let's cut the alpha today. That'll give us a week if we find that the release is broken, which is very possible considering all of the work that we're putting into the beginnings of multi-provider support. Let's cut the alpha, give us a week to test it. After that week, let's cut the you know, actual release candidate next week. Give us a week of testing on the release candidate, and we can actually cut the GA on the 16th. To me, this makes more sense, but if someone feels strongly that we need 2 weeks between code freeze and release of a GA, you can let me know. I just feel like we need a week of probably putting some mileage on an alpha before we do anything else. That's my 2 cents. So that was the first thing on my agenda. Any disagreements, plus ones to that plan? Okay, see, thanks, Savitha. I get a thumbs up. I guess that's acceptance then. Okay, so that was the first thing. And then the second was, we discussed this last week at the triage and planning call, but I just wanted to highlight again to kind of make this kind of clear. We have some issues that we're addressing for 05. In order for us to get onto a reasonable pace of acceptance of the enhancements and moving forward with the feature development, we set the enhancement freeze for May 16th. So the idea is that if you want a feature that's included in 05, which I went ahead and updated this list based on what is targeted with the milestone, we're expecting an enhancement submitted and accepted. So at least some basic approval of what the enhancement defines by May 16th. For multi-provider support, as I said, Jeff has an enhancement up that we would need feedback on. Otherwise, by the 16th, we're going to move forward with the feature, right? So calling for feedback there. Gradle support, I know, is in progress, but we need an enhancement that defines what we're doing with it, because I know we've started down this path. We found some stuff out. I know there's a bunch of conversations about it, but we need a formal enhancement by the 16th defining what we're doing there. We also have automatic language discovery. That's, again, a lot of conversation, stuff's in flight. Let's just get an enhancement up, define it, make sure we're all on board with the plan, move forward with it. And then what's our plan for introductory .NET rules, right? So I know we're doing a lot of exploration here. I don't know that an enhancement is maybe the right place for this, but some document that explains kind of what we're looking to do to see the rule sets for .NET, I would say we need that by May 16th as well. So with that said, I then kind of extrapolated the same dates out, assuming we cut an alpha near the beginning of July, and getting us to GA somewhere in the middle of July. And obviously, we'll see where we're at by, you know, beginning of June if we need to push these dates out, but that's the current plan. Any questions on 05 or concerns? Last topic. So, excuse me. I'm like Emily. I've been very congested. Let me find the right tab I want to share for this one. I was talking around to a lot of people on the team. I think we still have some awareness gaps of what folks know we do or don't have in the CI system, and I wanted to highlight a few things. So if you come here, right, we have nightlies, and these nightlies run every single night against release branches and main. There's a lot of red on this page, and I understand that historically, up until about maybe 2 months ago, we were used to seeing a lot of red in CI. We started turning everything green. There's still a lot of red on the UI testing, but our underlying end-to-end API test suite that really runs like basic analysis verification with the rule sets that we expect based on our sample applications, we've gotten to a point now where that is like super stable. It's super reliable. The tier 0 test, even tier 1, I don't see that fail anymore. And I want to make sure that everyone understands the possible pitfalls you could fall into just relying on CI and when you would want to verify something with CI, right? So a common situation that I found people have been getting into is if I come to like a repository with a pull request that's been open for a while, right? CI is going to get executed on this whenever the PR is submitted. When CI is getting executed, CI is going to be using the latest images available to it, right? There's a lot of dependencies here. So if you go change a component, it executes a test based on the current analysis, current analyzer and the current add-on, right? That end-to-end test is going to be executed, it's going to pass and say good to go. Then I'm going to merge this, right? And once I merge this, there will be another CI run that's going to get executed. And that CI run is going to basically run a verification at the time of merge that with all of the latest images that have been built since you've submitted the PR and it's passed CI, are we still passing CI, right? Obviously, we have a lot of interconnected components at this point. Like it's very, very likely if you have a PR that was approved 4 or 5 days ago, it could have broken between now and then. Ideally, you'd rerun CI one more time on the PR, but let's say you didn't. There's a place to go look to see the current state of the world, right? So if I go and like pull up a release branch, for example, which we were doing a lot of cherry picking to get into, to get release 03 ready for a new Z stream, you can go and verify that the release 03 branches are all in a stable spot, right? Not just on merge, but you can come back to the CI repository. Where is it? Which tab are you? Here we go. Okay. And you can actually verify that the nightlies are successful. If you just merge a bunch of stuff in and you think, oh man, I cherry picked some weird stuff. I don't know if I broke something, and you want to just execute it again. Everyone that's got access to these repositories, you can kick off this workflow, select the main branch for the release 03 nightlies. That'll verify that everything's still happy-go-lucky, right? On top of this, right, we had another gap, and I think we've already addressed this. Although, honestly, everyone here is from Red Hat, but I would like to get a Slack bot or some email notification that notifies the community channel as opposed to just the internal Red Hat channel. But when CI fails, we didn't have any like big alarm bells that were telling us something's wrong, right? So we went 5 days basically where the CI system was telling us, hey, you guys broke the release branch. Release branch is broken. And there's nothing telling us that. So we have a Slack bot that's going to at least post something about this in our internal channels. I think we need to also do this on the community layer at some level. So there's got to be like an email, I assume, since we can't get Slack bots in Konveyor Slack. But we're all responsible for making sure that this is always green and happy. And if you've merged something in that's potentially broken it, your responsibility is to go fix it. That includes the main branch, right? So at all points in time, main should also be stable. Main, if you are merging something that's going to affect other components, so for example, I have a breaking change across the analyzer that's going to impact the add-on, you can still test across components with different PRs. We have the capability to do that. The CI tooling exists for that. that was demoed in a previous call. If you have questions on it, I'm happy to show you or link you up with people who did get themselves involved in that. So there's really no excuse to merge stuff in with a big red X. And I think we need to start making sure that everything is green before merge and after merge. And if not, we're going to have to act a lot faster because we really kind of screwed ourselves a little bit on the release branch being broken for 5 days. Now, one last note on main. I'm sorry, I've been talking for a long time. I'll pause. This is what I'm also trying to figure out what we want to do here to fix this. Again, we don't need to be seeing red and then just accept red. If the UI tests are broken, these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, let's turn them off. I want to see a big green checkbox, and I want to know if something's red, something's wrong, right? So we're going to add Slack alerting for this too. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I guess I want to use this time. Do you have questions about the CI system? Were you guys aware that you could come here and look at the release branches? I got feedback that maybe a lot of people didn't know some of the stuff existed. So I just wanted to raise it again in case you missed the community call where all this stuff was shown off a while back. In fact, like, why is this? I'm not sure why this is red either, because this is showing green. Well, I don't know. I'm embedding myself into this problem. I will make sure that this whole page is showing green. And if it's showing red, there's a serious problem. Please ask on your end, if you're merging something in a repository and something goes red, at this point in time, it's no longer like oh, yeah, CI's got flakiness. That's not the case any longer. CI stable, it's working well. If you're seeing red, you probably broke something or something has changed under you that you need to account for. That's another very real scenario. So ask for help. Like, hey, I don't know why this is failing. Does anyone have any idea? I'll make sure that we get you the help you need. Yeah, Pranav.
Hey, I opened an issue on this repository. I was wondering if we could expedite that. That issue. So is it possible to do this? So whenever we are running global CI, we should be using the same branch where that CI is running across all components. So we don't have to explicitly set into the workflow the value, because that's going to change every time we cut a release branch. And we don't have automation to change those values in the other repos. So if we just solve this at the root, we don't have to worry about.
Thanks. And Pranav, if I just provide a little color on that, because in case you're unaware why this is so important, we were hitting this. We were getting into a problem, right? Where like the tests being executed were using different components based on which image tag it was pulling down, right? So we were getting like really strange test results because it was using either a different test or it was expecting different results based on the underlying images and branches that were being used. So I totally agree with you, Pranav. And the mitigation we did today, right, is I think we pin this in all the release branches.
Yeah.
But this is something we'll definitely want. Again, like we're cutting release 04 today. I would expect maybe we can try to solve this in the exact same go. If there's some environment or some variable to set, we can test it in the release 04 before we go anywhere forward. I will look into this, see if I can figure it out. If not, I will annoy someone else to help me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pranav. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? And I'll echo David's comments again. Like we've made a really, just thinking about where we were 3 months ago with CI, like it's a night and day difference. So this is a really great tool that it's going to help everyone else. It's not just to give some bureaucratic nonsense to it. It's a massive helpful tool. Like when we were trying to fix all the release branches, it was instrumental to be able to rely on this thing to get it successful. So big +1. Thank you for all the effort and work that's gone into this. That's it for me.
Also really cool to see the test be constantly improving too, by the way. That's really cool and awesome.
Really agree. Yeah. That's it. I'll turn it back to you, Sveta, unless there's anything else.
Thank you, Dylan. So I think this is really awesome. I don't think we have anything drafted for PR guidelines or something. So if it would help, we can just put it as in the template, or we can just put it somewhere telling that CI should pass before you merge something. If that would help for the wider community, we can think about that.
Well, I would add it's also really the responsibility is on the merger too. So like whoever has merge rights, this would fall under you, right? The author will automatically get the CI executed, which is nice.
Mhm.
I think in the past we were loosey goosey about seeing red just because of being used to seeing red, but that shouldn't be an issue any longer. So that was the main point to get across. The mergers should always be making sure that we're green. If it's been a while since we've executed the CI, execute it again before merge. That's the other advice I have, just based on all the stuff changing under the hood.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I have also didn't steal my thunder by giving the kudos, which is the favorite thing. But I'm gonna just go again. Thank you everyone for working on CI, and it's been wonderful to see the progress, and seeing green is amazing. Than seeing a lot of red bars. Thank you. Is there anything anyone wants to add to the open discussion topics? Oh, cool. I think there is another thing, note, message that for the 4.5 release plan, please feel free to add your comments. What do you think? +1, -1, anything that you want to say? Otherwise, we'll. How long do you want to keep the PR open? Then, like, we'll just give a deadline. So.
Whenever, yeah. Oh, I guess a week. I'll just merge it in next week, assuming everyone's on board. I'm hoping to really finalize the feature list. I feel like there's only so much time to write an enhancement between now and the 16th. So I assume by next Thursday we have a pretty concrete grasp as to what's going in. So yeah, I'll wait till next Thursday and can close it.
Yep, next Thursday. So if you don't have anything, we'll just assume that everyone's on board, and we'll just merge PR. Cool. Is there anything else anyone wants to add? All right, then, folks. I will give you all some time back. See you all in 2 weeks, and the Slack is open 24/7. But just be mindful. We all have our own work times. If anything is really urgent, please feel free to ping people. That's all for me. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.